We're going to install Nagios meta package on our master host first. Just getting the compute node pane ready so we can watch what happens when we install Nagios onto the compute node image. Next, we install the plugins into the compute node image. Command there. We can watch what impact it might have on our final image. Since we're installing lots of small packages, the du command itself doesn't always reveal the progress that we're having with the compute image. So I'm including the listing of total number of files in the compute image using du word count per line. And that should give us a better overview of what progress is being made on the compute image. Right now it's a 1.3 gig image and it has 4,130 files. So we left off here installing the plugins of the compute node image. We're now going to enable and configure Nagios Remote Plugin Executor in the compute image. That's NRPE. NRPE allows us to remotely execute Nagios plugins on other Linux machines. This effectively allows us to monitor remote machine metrics from our host. We're going to update Nagios to allow all hosts to talk to the NRPE daemon by commenting out this line. We're going to add port 5666. Next, we're going to allow our SMS hosts IP in the hosts allow file. This file matches daemon client pairs, and if there is a match in one of the lines of the file, access is granted, and it traverses top down through the file to see if there is a daemon client match. We're going to add the NRPE user for the NRPE service. Again, I might expect that this NRPE user already exists, but for sake of completeness, we will follow the command. And there we have it. And as I expected, the NRPE user is already there, but for completeness, we'll follow what is in the OpenHPC guide. That command. And we're going to add that user to the group, but again, I expect that that's already been done. And we should expect that the group NRPE already exists. And the group does already exist. Moving on, we're going to configure the remote services to test on the compute nodes, and for that we'll move the Nagios example file into active service. We're going to define the compute nodes as hosts that we want to monitor. There's nothing there at the moment. And we have the default hosts defined in the host file. We're going to make some changes to the default host file to make it reflect our compute node images. The OpenHPC recipe guide shows a very useful bash script which cycles a for do loop for the number of computes. But in our case, we only want to have 2. So we don't really need to bother about doing this loop. It's a matter of pain versus gain. In some cases, it might take longer to write a script instead of just repeating the same command twice. Our objective is to rename hostname 1 and hostname 2 to the names of our compute nodes. So we'll search for hostname 1 and we will replace it with the name that we have defined. And I fully expected to see that happen because we've removed hostname 1 and we've replaced it with CName, which is compute 00. Do the same for here, for hostname 2. We also need to change host 1 IP and host 2 IP. This is going to replace, and it will vanish from our grep because we're not searching for the same string anymore. And just to be feeling happy, we'll search for them. That is not a good thing. It's a good thing we actually looked. There seems to be an extra character return in the compute name. So we'll delete that and that. That looks better. It seems to have... Hopefully your setinv.c file doesn't have this problem, but it seems like when I sourced the file, I somehow sourced a carriage return or a new line. There, looks nice and clean. Save that. That's a good thing I checked, and that's a good example as to why you should always check these configuration files and not just blindly copy paste everything from a guide. We're going to update the location of the mail binary for the alert commands. So we're going to look for /bin/mail. We're going to add a check SSH command for remote hosts. And then we'll define a password for Nagios admin to be able to connect to the web interface. We've already specified that with our setNV. And finally, we enable Nagios on the master server and we configure it. At that point, we've installed Nagios on the SMS host, we've defined the client nodes that will be monitored by Nagios, and we've granted the necessary permissions.